Well, hey, I think I'm going to get started. I know I had Preston showing up. Oh, he's here. Is Preston here? I see a face.
He's quiet.
There he is. So I got a couple faces here. I'd like to welcome you all. We're going to talk about children's books for nonprofits, get the brain going here. We got a couple of recordings going, so we'll be able to put this on the Nonprofit Leader course so people can go through this very quickly and learn whether it's up for you. Now, while we're talking about this, write down some notes because there's going to be some time at the end to talk about if your idea for a children's book is good for you and you have a brain trust here to talk about it. So hopefully we have a few others join, and I know a few people are going to listen to the recording. So let's get started. So mission and stories, how children's books transform nonprofit marketing. Here's a bunch of covers of books that I've had the privilege of working with folks on. All of them are nonprofits except Brandon Bryant is, it's a for-profit company, but has a literacy mission. So he's the kind of exception, really doesn't fit quite for a nonprofit quite yet. Now, why am I talking about this? I've been a nonprofit advisor for how many years, Preston? Thanks for joining us. Preston got me involved.
If they really want to know, let me just have them look closely at my hair. Great.
So in about 2018, I was given the opportunity to work with Preston with his nonprofit and attend his bus tour. And I saw his vision, and he was also allowed me to give him some ideas and implement them. And I got the radical idea that I could help nonprofits after that. So now here I am 8 years later. So I thank Preston for being a mentor, for coming on here, for showing me the potential and promise of children's books. And now here we are, having done a couple, and now we want to pay it forward and maybe have you step into the deep end of the pool, put your toe in the deep end and say, hey, maybe I could do a children's book and maybe it's not that scary. So, you know, it's beyond just marketing, it's creating a legacy. So you're creating generational conversations, you're making an emotional connection between your nonprofit and the characters that you create. And it's a potential donor pipeline. If anyone gives a certain amount, I know I gave to African Orphan Educational Foundation, Kathy Cray, who couldn't make it today. She's down here in South Florida. I wrote a donation of $50 and a book showed up in the mail. How cool was that? And I'll talk about her book in a second. And, you know, you really position yourself not only as a thought leader, but also you can bury stuff in books. I'll be talking about one book that talks about dental hygiene, teaches you how to brush your teeth. And then even this book here, Preston's book, has a QR code buried. And when you get to the QR code, you just click through there, and now you have his media group and this really cool video. I always love this music.
Did we lose audio?
Did you hear it?
I can hear you.
Oh, shoot.
Okay. I can hear someone.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe if I did it like this, then let me go to the Google Meet and go to present something new. And then I present that. How about this? Can you hear it?
Yes. The difference in trying to make a difference now does not have the advantage of a collective people who are all the recipients and know they are the recipients of racism, lack of social justice. All of that is more complex for people to understand now. It was easy back then. All of us could not do public accommodations, register to vote, and it brought us together in a unified way. And it brought and it emerged leaders. And the leaders were not second guessed and picked at by the community. They rallied behind the lessons from the civil rights movement. The real answer is we cannot use all of those lessons. What we need to do, however, is to be reminded of how devastating Jim Crow, racism, discrimination was. And that's why we're going to take these youth and bring them face to face with what it was.
168, 104.
All right.
Yes.
Let's see. I'm going to have to put him on mute. Let's see. There we go. All right. So really, burying can you hear me? Okay. Burying a video like that, that's the last page of his book. So the book really bridged the history that Preston will be talking about. It really takes young children through the tour through a storybook, and then he has the video talking about the actual story. And in a few more slides, Preston, I'm going to have you give some more background on that. Let's see. So the strategic case for a children's book is that multi-generational impact, longevity versus traditional marketing materials, building an emotional connection between your characters and your mission, and then the ROI, a one-time investment versus ongoing returns. So take a look at this. Traditional marketing, social media, email campaigns have days half-life to them, versus a children's book can have a 5, 7, even 10-year impact. And how do you start this process? Well, you do a mission to story translation, and this may include finding your organization's core narrative, maybe adapting a complex mission for your young audience, and then these case studies. Again, the bridge to history, the smiles across the savannah, and I have this showcase because I did tell you about, what we created was they're building a dental clinic in Kenya, Africa. And so Jody Hardwick couldn't be here today, but they put the right way to brush teeth in the back of the book, if you see me holding up what I'm holding up here. And we brainstormed, like, they're building a clinic in Africa, and we said, well, how do animals on a safari, clean their teeth? And we found that the giraffe has an oxbow bird that picks at his teeth. So there's a whole, like, the young kids are watching the giraffe get his teeth cleaned by the bird. And then we have the hippos in the water where the fish pick at their teeth. And at the end, they're like, well, wow, we need to have some dental hygiene here. Thankfully, we have Jim and Jody Hardwick at the Hardwick Foundation building the dental clinic here. And so it just goes full circle from telling a story to pulling in children to making them excited about the mission. Mental health awareness with nice shoes. I gave that book away and need to get another copy. Dennis Gillen wasn't able to make it. He's actually speaking right now as we speak. And I tell you, like, all the people I asked, fortunately, Preston cleared his calendar for this. I asked him last second. He's like, yeah, I got a little bit of time. But everyone else, as soon as they did a children's book, now they're busy all the time. So there you go, racing and doing all kinds of stuff. Brandon Bryant is, again, he has a literacy mission, and then the African Orphan Educational Foundation has an educational perspective. Now, again, this is beyond marketing, and it's a legacy creation. I guess I already talked about that, right? And then, real results for real nonprofits. And Preston, with your book, Your Bridge to History, again, been published over 8 years now. It's won an award, a national level children's award for its illustration and ability to story tell. Let's see. Can you give us an overview or just a little bit of background on, what made you put your toe in the water for a children's book, and like kind of a little bit of story, like more context for these folks listening?
Well, it's not only don't I mind, but it's an honor and a pleasure to look you face to face, if you call that what we're doing. But Zoom has its own way of understanding face to face. But it's an honor. I don't feel that I'm being asked to speak as the expert. I'm just another author, but I surely have the experience with it. And I want to, I can talk about my book, but before I do, just very briefly, uh, where Vince, are the attendees on the Zoom in the cycle? Have they all written books, or are some of them considering, or are they retired and are moving to Paris because they made so much money? Which one is it?
We started this group as veterans or those associated with the military that had a heart to start nonprofits, and then we opened it up to just nonprofit leaders, and we meet every 2 weeks. And what we do, similar to my regular recurring clients that Ricky and I meet with, we pass on all the little lessons learned that we learn week to week, or keep people apprised of, so that they can kind of keep up, but kind of do it on their own timing. They write down their 3 things to do before the next 2 weeks, and they kind of keep things going. So we're trying to support nonprofit leaders in either starting a nonprofit or in that first
I got you.
3-year period when it's really difficult and you don't know if you're going to make it or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, I asked that so I could cut my comments down from 3 hours to just a few minutes. Let me see what her name is. Miss Green, she almost choked on her. But I surely am joyful to be with you all on something other than all of the tragic and stressful and chaos in the world. And so for us to be able to smile and talk and all of that is a joy in itself. I'm sure you would agree. My book, my first book, maybe I'll say that to keep you interested, was not from a person who had in his bucket and his bucket list writing a book. My book came out of a effort that was non-literary to address a void and a need within the African American community to teach our youth about their own history and civil rights and otherwise. And as a college professor, I was driven to organize a very complex but thorough Black History, 1 week Black History tour throughout the South that included Memphis, Montgomery, Birmingham, Selma, Jackson, and all of that. So we did that. And we have now in our 8th year of that, going here in about a month. But that tour told me that, by the way, that tour only invited high school kids because they were mature enough to assimilate the learning. It was a learning trip. But I began to think that, oh, wow, I need to plant the seed in elementary kids so that they'll be ready for my high school only tour when they get to high school, because the more they begin to understand, quote, one, literacy, and two, in my case, history, the better we will have prepared them to be young people and adults. That's what generated me to consider writing a children's book that would capture my adult tour in a children's book way. I would say, uh, just background wise, what that really told you is why do people, why should or could you be considering writing or have written a children's book in the first place? And it's different for all of us. In my case, I just shared it with you. It could be that you would be fantasizing that you're going to get rich. uh, but that could be a reason. It also could be that you want to teach something in an abstract or direct way to the kids, or you feel very strongly about a cause that you want to advocate with the kids. You want to contribute to your community in some way through the kids. All of those and more are the reason why we uh, write a book. Some of us are children oriented. Let's say if you were an elementary school teacher, you want to teach them through your book and all of that. My point is, none of us had a big meeting and we all decided let's go write a children's book for the same reason. And I just told you why I wrote. So my purpose was, I guess, was to teach, but in a kid sort of way. So I wanted to tell you that my book has received uh, a national, the National Book Award. Uh, there's a formal name for it. I don't know. We were the honoree children's book a couple years ago. I received some other awards, uh, and that was a big surprise. I wrote the book and I entered my name because somebody told me to, but it was a surprise to win. I want to say, and trying to capsulize all my thoughts on this at once, I want to leave a little time for you all to hear me tell you uh, what are the outlets for the school for children's book. And so I'll try to do that. I do uh, want to say that the reason I asked the question of Vince, who's on, so I don't. You want to write a book, okay, great, but you have all of us had those moments of mental pushbacks. Uh, all the things you want to do, but your mental pushbacks keep you from doing it. And I will urge you to push through that, push through the pushbacks, else you will never get it done. And then your new mental problem will be, wow, I should have. I would urge you, if you have the idea, push through the pushbacks. And that would be true of your nonprofit consideration. You have to push through the mental pushbacks and pushbacks you get from others and do what you feel compelled to do. Most of the things we're compelled to do are compelling. The compeller is your guide. Your spirit is telling you you can figure, and then your flesh is telling you, oh no, oh no, oh no. And so I'm saying push through that. I'm a witness. I'm the oldest person in the room. So you've got to listen and do everything I tell you. And then the other thing is then doing it is going to be easy if you're focused. It will have stumbling blocks along the way. And I'm talking about the book or the nonprofit. You're going to have stumbling blocks, but if you're focused and you push back the inhibitors, mental and otherwise, you pop through that and you'll get it done in a great way. So I'm advocating for both the threshold of starting your nonprofit or keeping it going, and then in my case, and in maybe your case, that the children's book aspect of that, because the children's book, my first book, was directed to something I was advocating for, not to write a children's book in the abstract. Are you with me? Uh, so I would say, then just a couple more seconds to comment that my outlet for my books was, an outlet for all of your books will be somewhat the same, but you can really sell a lot of your books by speaking and your appearances places. You'll be surprised, and uh, people are interested after they see the author and hear the author up close and personal. Uh, I have the honor of having my children's book in some of the most historical uh, uh, civil rights places around the South, uh, at civil rights gift shops. That's an honor. Really, my greatest feeling. Vince has put up the other books I've written. I actually have a secret one nobody knows, because it hadn't been published. But soon we'll be able to put up a 55,000 word manuscript that will be translated into a book about the African American experience in Nebraska. Most of you are going to say, huh? African Americans, Nebraska, they don't go together. Don't write it. Okay. But so I've written the two children's books, and then I've written uh, three other books that, in effect, are commentary on this issues before us, uh, including my last one, which is really not up there, but uh, but a lot of my books pick up where the other one, not like a novel where you pick up a sequential part. But so with all that said, uh, I would say the continuing my thoughts. I do sell a lot of books on my tours, my local tours, as I sell the children's book. I would have something, Vince, that may be of help. But when something I learned from someone, and I learned a lesson before, I thought I would uh, uh, implement the lesson, and that is I give away a lot of books. My sister wrote a book. What she actually helped me write this. What she really did, just between us, is typed it, but I put her name on it. And but uh, she, I gave her, a lot of books, and if she didn't sell it, she wouldn't get. And I have the opposite approach. I give away a lot of books, and every time I give away, if I give away, if I'm in the company of 20 people and I give one or two away, I'll sell 10 of them. And so it's not, when you build your thinking process, be prepared to share your works, even if there's no purchasers. It will come back to you. I sometimes go to speak at a library. I go out to my car and give the library a copy of the book. Things like that. Long list I could tell you. So I guess what I want to say in closing is I'm glad I'm an author, and I'm glad I am an author about things I believe in, things I want to teach, things I want to share, experiences, experiential, all of that. And that makes me happy. And lastly, as I close for real, by the way, I don't know if any of you uh, are churchgoers, uh, and if you are, if you're Baptist. But one of the tricks of the Baptists is you start closing way before you know you're really closing. And so you say, so in closing, and then you go for a while, and finally I say, and then all of that. So I'm using that trick on you all. You don't know it, But I want to say this, that be encouraged. This is a wonderful group to be in, fellow authors, people who have taken their mission, their subject to teach, and sometimes it's really abstract, like some of these things about the teeth. You know that there's something else going on there to teach, and you feel good about yourself. And so, thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, Preston. Go ahead.
I was just saying thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Sarah and Ricky, thank you.
Thank you.
I put up the title slide here because when Preston says 2 books, he does have 2 books because he got his book translated into Spanish,
Yeah.
and then we were qualified for Title I funding.
Yes.
Preston, can you run by that number or what that last number was for that?
Well, I've let me say Title I. Does Title I? You can just show me, those of you who are visible. Does Title I mean anything to you? Well, Title I. Oh, I'm seeing some yes, maybe some that don't know. But the short version is in the federal marketplace, if you will, in order to assist marginalized communities, the federal government. I'm having trouble telling you this because I want to interject Trump in here somewhere because he's doing just the opposite of what I'm getting ready to tell you. But is to provide books to communities that don't have the resources to do so. Are you with me? And so Title I is kind of an umbrella of not just books, but providing materials, educational, that will assist and should be available to everyone, but is not. And so, in effect, it's federal funding to provide that. And so, if you're an author with a children's book in your area, there is someone in the public schools that's in charge of Title I funding and will possibly buy your children's book to provide free books to schools that have marginalized communities. Is that clear enough? And so I do very well. And my last order was the second of 2 400 book orders, that I sold to the school district, and then they took those and had book fairs or something else where they provided free books to the elementary school. It's a marvelous something. I want to say one more thing, Vince, and if you grab my book, and you don't have to put it on camera, but there's another thing that I did. Vince mentioned. Look towards the back. You don't have to show them. I just want you to be able to. But I did use QR codes. For example, in my book, we walk through the stop that we make on my real tour to the Lorraine Hotel where Martin Luther King was killed, and so it's a very emotional stop and all of that. But at that point, as I'm telling that story in the book, yes, there's a QR code, and that QR code will take you to Martin Luther King's last speech he ever. So you can really enhance your book by dropping in selectively QR codes. And then the last thing I wanted to say, for real, on my book, then turn to those last pages. If you write a children's book, I learned this and really appreciate myself for thinking of it. But you should write things to the adults for them to aid them when they read the book. So you go from page 1 to page 30, and but and you know an adult can read it to them. But I have one of the things on there, Vince. You can read it out loud, but it is principles of living that a parent could read to their kids. Principles of living, and it's uh, by the way, uh, one of them is to believe that uh, that you've been given a gift from God. But the schools asked me to take God out of it. Isn't it amazing? But those are uh, 5 principles that adults can begin to teach their kids early in life. So you can do some things like that for aid to the to either the teacher or the parents or whoever is reading to use in the children's book to make the point that you're trying to make indirectly, in that. Just like what you said about the uh, giraffe getting. Well, what is the point of that? What's the point of that, sir? Well, in the back of the book, you can tell the adults what the point of the story is so they can make sure they do that right.
Excellent. Thank you.
And may I say this one more thing? I'm not a Baptist, but I'm acting like one. Is I so wanted to be part of this meeting, but I have got to go. That's what I'm saying. But I don't want you all to think I just came in to show my wonderful self to you and leave. But
thanks for making the time.
yeah, thank you so much, and see you all later. Hope that you'll invite me back.
Yes, we certainly will. You have a lot of experience to share, and I'm glad that you were able to do that. Thank you, Preston.
Thank you.
So the Title I coordinator, you can find those at every school district. They are called Title I coordinators. To buy a list of Title I coordinators is very expensive, but to build a list one person at a time, and they have year-end money. They're a year-end money kind of person, so that end of September is a perfect time to reach out to Title I coordinators. Again, Jody did her Smiles Across the Savannah. Dennis Gillen talked about nice shoes. He does mental health awareness. That's suicide prevention. And it was a real story that Stephen Pyle told at a conference. And Dennis said, "Can we write a book together about your story?" Where he was not feeling good and he went to school and he thought he was going to do something to himself that day. After school, and the most popular kid in the schools looked down and said, "Hey, nice shoes." So they tell a story about that. This is the Kathy Cray's African Orphan Educational Foundation Literacy Storybook. She tells a very heartfelt story about bringing coloring books to Africa, also Kenya. And there was so many children, they took the coloring book and started ripping pages out of the coloring book to give each child a page of the coloring book. And she said that was horrifying. Why can't we get a coloring book to each kid? And so now they have, if you see it, you can be it. And there's a lot of abundance thinking, a lot of manifold goodness in this book, which is a coloring book. And they featured illustrators from local artists. So look, they didn't even color their pictures because it's a coloring book, you know. And they created it here in South Florida. I believe they even print it in Africa now, and it's designed for villages with limited internet. And it's promoting positive thinking and abundance thinking and career orientation for kids that would never be told to go be a doctor or a significant career. Kathy wasn't able to make it here today, but she said having a children's book is an incredible platform for starting conversations, building relationships, and changing the world for better by encouraging parents, teachers, and children. You can teach them if you can reach them. We create generational change organically through children's books. and Kathy's right here in South Florida. She also did a fundraiser recently called Taste of Africa, where she had African music and African food and brought in, for an hors d'oeuvre party. And that was very successful. I'm sorry I couldn't make that, but she's in the heart of a wealthy area of Florida, and she's really allowing people to help African orphans directly. So, what is your process? We've talked a long time about children's books and other examples. You want to create a message and build a narrative around characters and plot. You want to visualize it with an illustrator. Usually, that's a team approach. You can find a Fiverr illustrator, usually about $30 per page for an illustration, but you can shop around on Fiverr because you can find the right style that you like. You can you can build a coloring book and then you don't need that, but you could go for the watercolor kind of look on your illustrations, or the illustrator that Jody found. I just love that these pictures here. It's just a really soft, almost watercolor, but also digital look. And then finally, Brandon Bryant with his book is like more of a cartoonish look. So you can find your style for Illustrator. And then production wise, a lot. Dennis Gillen and Jody each used Palmetto Publishing, and Preston used a local publisher. But Palmetto Publishing has some really good deals, especially, play the veteran card, play the I'm a startup nonprofit, like do everything with them. And there's some really low rates to get the oh, Brandon, are you with us?
Hey, Venti, I've been on. I got here about halfway through Mr. Love's speech.
Oh, great. So we're moving into your case study. So I'm glad we have the author here. Now, Brandon Bryant has a heart for literacy. Again, his Brandon Bryant Books is a LLC, but it does have a lot of outreach and a lot of giving to underserved projects and areas. And so he started with his first book to so you want to be an athlete. It was something on his heart. Like lots of kids always talking to him, like, how do I get to where you are as an NFL defensive tackle playing for the Buffalo Bills? And he would always go back, make your academics just as important as your athletics. So he engages in character focus and long-term success. One of the things I remember, because you weren't going to be here, Brandon, so I'll just quickly say what I was going to say about my interview with you way back at the diner that's now closed here in Deerfield Beach. But, you went and interviewed educators and librarians. And you said, what do kids like? Tell me. And they said, well, they like repetition and rhythmic phrases, and they enjoy saying sounds out loud, like that Caterpillar book or whatever. So get something that people like to repeat often, and make a lovable, relatable character. And so that evolved with that research. He went from, so you want to be an athlete, to can I pet that dog, which is on the slide. I let someone borrow Can I Pet That Dog, so I don't have my copy anymore. So I got to get it back. But I wanted to show someone what a great children's book was, and they should do it for their nonprofit. Now I got to reestablish my collection here. But Brandon, in your thank you, heartfelt thank you for joining us today. And this is a nonprofit circle for nonprofit leaders. And Preston, as he talked about, he stepped out put his toe in the deep end and said, you know what, I'm going to create a children's book around my mission. And it's paid off for him. He's gotten into Title I coordinators. He's gotten into giving away books as free advertising, giving away books for $50 donations or greater. So tell us a little bit about your journey, and maybe in the context of what a nonprofit leader could do in writing their own children's book.
Sorry, hello. First of all, I'm Brandon Bryant, and sorry if I say anything that's repetitive. I know I came on here late, but I would say, the doors that it opens, the people you meet, the conversations that you're able to have, and the what you leave with people after you meet them, you know, and in this space we're all in, I don't know whether you're fundraising or impacting the community, it is, you know, it's a sad reality that, you know, we meet a lot of people and we forget a lot of people as well. But I think when you give somebody a book, they never forget you. You know, when you're an author and you've written a children's book and you have something that is so impactful. You know, one guy told me, he said, man, you gave me that book and it was like a business card on steroids. And that's not why I wrote the book, obviously, but you know, that's just one of the benefits of it. So I'll never forget that, just the long lasting impact that you're able to leave with people and let alone children as well. You know, we talk about the impact we have on the community, but just as far as a business sense and just being able to leave that long lasting impression with someone, I don't think there's anything like it. You know, sometimes I go somewhere and maybe somebody will recognize me for something, but every once in a while somebody's like, oh, hey, that's the guy that writes the books, you know. So I think that's real cool. It's something that sets you apart, makes you much more interesting, and it also, you know, just amplifies the message, whatever that is, because if you were able to write a book and go out there and market it and sell it and, you know, pitch that to different organizations, schools, whatever it may be, they'll know that you're serious about it and that you put a lot of time and effort into it, and, you know, maybe you're somewhat of an expert. So, you know, that's my condensed, you know, summation on what it is to be a children's book author.
Thank you. Do you have any ongoing, like a current third book project? And can you kind of talk through your thinking on that and let us in the lab, so to speak?
Yeah. So actually, when I wrote the first book, I'm sorry, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but when I wrote the first book, So You Want to Be an Athlete, I actually wrote that as a catalog of books. So sorry, as one long book, and this was more so just like one story in that book or one chapter. So it was So You Want to Be an Athlete, So You Want to Be a police officer, So You Want to Be an attorney, you know, So You Want to Be a firefighter, So You Want to be a teacher, So You Want to write a book. And it was designed to be one long book, but throughout my research, I realized that it was just too long, you know, and I could break these stories up into many different books and have those projects ready to go. So that one book that I wrote is already, you know, 9 books that are ready to go. And, you know, since then, every time I get an idea, I just sit down and write it. I'm not a fan of, you know, locking myself in a room and trying to come up with an idea. So, you know, I like to just keep my creativity flowing. Whenever I get an idea, I'll just stop everything and write it. So, as I retired from football and I pivot into the financial industry, which I'm going in next, which fits, I don't think I got a chance to tell you about that yet, but I'm working on some financial licenses. So I got the idea. Well, you know, I think kids should learn about all this as well. So my next book that I've already written that I'll publish next is going to be about finance. So gonna keep the So You Want to Be title, So You Want to, and then working on I have the book ready to go, but I don't know if I'm gonna go with So You Want to Learn Finance or So You Want to, you know, visit Wall Street, or, you know, a bunch of different ways that I could take it. And obviously that's the easiest route for me to continue to go with the series So You Want to Be. But for example, Can I Pet That Dog? I wrote the book and, you know, I wrote it in a couple hours, you know, 3 hours. It doesn't take that long, you know. It's 250 to 500 words in a children's book. So yeah, as I get the ideas, I just sit down and write them. I got another book about Spanish, you know, So You Want to Learn Spanish, that's, you know, in the pipeline to come out soon. And they're just a bunch of different books. So yeah, when I get the idea, I just stop everything I'm doing, sit down and write it. And honestly, the first draft, like I said, never takes over maybe 3 hours, and then I'll, you know, get some corrections from a professional or some of my friends, and then I'll fine tune it. And that process might take, you know, a couple weeks or a month or so, but the initial rough draft never takes me long.
It would be fantastic for that financial literacy book to become partnered with a financial literacy nonprofit so that they could even distribute it, or even a bank, because I know a lot of banks do educational foundations, and financial literacy is so critical, like just developing budgets, you know, using your money wisely, maybe even some Warren Buffett advice on how to save money. Does anyone have any questions for Brandon? Well, Brandon, we may have a couple things come up. If you have a few minutes, at least till the top of the hour, I'm sure we would have some questions at the end. If you could hang on, I appreciate it. Great.
No problem. No problem.
So we're going back to the slides here, and there was, let me see here. There was a neat guy that if you do Google, so you want to be an athlete, Brandon Bryant, there's a neat guy that reads your book as a video for his following, which is pretty cool. So you can actually get it read to you by an exciting guy. So what's the return on investment for a book for a nonprofit? Brandon he did use Palmetto Publishing, and then I had two other clients use Palmetto Publishing after he told me about Palmetto Publishing. I have no partnership with Palmetto Publishing, although I should because of my referrals to them. But no, I haven't figured that relationship out yet. But they're very good. We've had some good experiences with them, and they're very relatable to first-time authors. And I will probably ask you to follow up on Palmetto Publishing when I get through these slides here. So the average investment about $300 to $7,500. It is a lot of money up front, but then after about 200 books, you can break even. And then the lifespan of the book, you're printing them, and now you're making a little money. So it's a great what we call marketing effort, where you're getting your mission out, and you may have a plan. You may have a series of books for your mission. And then the speaking events, the grants, the media, and the Title I coordinator, which Brandon also has some Title I coordinator interfacing too that he could share about at the end here. So what are your next steps? Explore your ideas around your mission. Look at starter prompt templates for AI. Brandon's a children's book author, and he doesn't use AI, but maybe you can frame a book around AI or get some ideas around AI. I had the idea for animals in the plains of Africa to want their teeth cleaned, and I said, well, give me 3 animals that get their teeth cleaned in a unique way. And then so this oxbow bird pecks at the giraffe's teeth, a fish cleans the hippo's teeth, and the lion's so mean and nasty, no one wants to get near the lion, so he has to chew on sticks. So we had our 3 animals, and AI helped me find those pretty darn quick. But join the publishing partner network. You can find other people that are doing this, or even just talk to Palmetto Publishing about that. And then, get illustrated portfolio review, or look at Fiverr for different artists you like. And then if you have the manuscript and then you're wanting to start to page those out, if you bring the manuscript and the illustrations to Palmetto Publishing, then their quote is even under $2,000. It's very cheap for them just to lay out everything that you already have. What do you do, with us? Well, we got the Nonprofit Leader Circle. Toby and I, thanks Toby for being on. And we have a school platform, so you can get on there. You can pitch your idea in the school platform. You can, allow us to help you. You can set up a free call. I say it's a 15-minute coffee, but if you're going to talk about a book, you'll probably get me on there for an hour, and we can explore your book idea together. And then, this is my slide for the Nonprofit Leaders course, or the Nonprofit Leader Circle. So let me go back to the title slide here, and then we can open it up for questions. I did want to either have open up some questions to Brandon, or if you have thought of a children's book idea that you have and you want to pitch it, or we want to brainstorm it, we have a little bit of time for that. So just open it up for any comments, questions, or discussion.
We've had a few ideas for books, but some of those have been my husband and I brainstorming a few things since we have, 4 little kids. We've tried to think about how to just for Brandon to bring him into the, we're a Gold Star family organization. We lost my brother in Afghanistan back in 2018. So I'm a Gold Star sister, and a lot of the stuff that I'm a military spouse also, so I see Gold Star kids in this community, and I've seen a lot of grief books, but nothing that's like really military specific. So I think about that, not necessarily in the grief sense for my kids, but a military kid book, which would still be relevant for ours. We don't just support Gold Star families, but veteran families. You know, siblings and how they get each other through life and how they push each other and pull each other through tough times. We've looked at that. One that my husband had this great idea for the Gold Star Brigade, to do something about, just military loss for the kids. Little things like pennies and feathers and things that can be signs from your loved one. And we've also looked at things like something in the realm of like dog tags from dad, little messages that you get from your, deployed service member. And I don't want to like just say dog tags from dad, because we know a lot of female service members that have to leave their kid behind too. So just kind of brainstorming some of those ideas. So there's a few that we've tossed around, but we've not really developed them. But I laughed when you had this meeting set up, Vince, because I was like, I should have Brian on this one because we've talked about so many. But
Yeah, well, we'll have the video, and I'm happy to do a one-on-one call with you. Did anyone have any insights, as Sarah was talking about, just getting the Gold Star definition out there of what a Gold Star family is, what a Gold Star sister is, what a Gold Star son or daughter is? Is that even out there? Do people even know what Gold Stars mean?
a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
I do assume, since my husband and my brother were both Service Academy grads, if I'm doing anything specific for Naval Academy or West Point, I probably need to go through some licensing situations with them if their logos or anything like that is going to be used, would be my assumption. Who knows how hard
There are a few licensing requirements, but once you get through it, many people have said it's not hard at all, and there's only a few licensing requirements. The old logos for West Point and et cetera aren't even licensed because they don't want to have ownership of the older stuff. So yeah, any other discussions out there? I know Jenny, you joined us late, or if Toby's still on, or any other insights from Ricky as a military spouse? And Brandon, if you're still on, could you give a little bit of insight about kind of how you get your book out there, and maybe a little comment about Title I coordinators?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys know or where you all are located, but I'm in South Florida, right up the street here from Vince. So there is no shortage of opportunities for an author down here, being just centrally located in the Tri-County area. We got three of the largest school districts in the entire nation here: Dade County Public Schools, Broward, and Palm Beach County. So I decided, because I'm a one-man shop. I do everything from accounting to marketing, writing, distribution, everything myself. So my idea was to just try to introduce myself to everyone at the schools. I've been fortunate, like Ben said, it's very difficult to actually meet these Title I coordinators, but once you do meet them, they are usually they have the funds there, and I believe they have to spend them, so they usually when they can get with a local author and they can actually get you in the schools or to these events, they're more than happy to make that happen. But the most luck I've had is just going to these different events, and as crazy as it sounds, I go to these farmers markets or these green markets, and I just set up a tent in a booth, and maybe I'll go there, maybe I'll sell 40, 50, 60 books, 70 books, but it's usually the people you meet at these markets where you have the most success in the follow-up, because the superintendents are there, the teachers are there, the people like yourselves are there, the people who run these nonprofit organizations, the directors of Boys and Girls Club, YMCAs, whatever it may be. They'll call me, they'll contact me, they'll ask me if I can speak. Maybe I'll speak at the school or at an event they have, and then maybe they'll buy a couple hundred books to go along with the event. So that's been the main method of success that I've had. Obviously, it'll, to scale up to do more than what I've been doing, it'll, take a little bit more than that and some change. But, I didn't get into this to make it a full-time job. So, I'm pretty content and happy with the way it's going. I don't know what any of your aspirations are, but also the online marketing's been dominant as well. So not an expert on SEO, but I would recommend that you do talk to someone who specializes in that area, because that is where most children's book authors, find the most success, is just, properly advertising online. I'll do something myself where I start a campaign on Amazon, maybe Facebook or Instagram, YouTube, and it's usually pretty successful. But I know that I could definitely do a lot more than what I am doing. But, these SEO, experts are very expensive. At least, what I thought they were, and the ones that approached me, it was typically like a range of, well, I don't know what the exact range was, but anywhere from like 500 to 2,000 a month to do SEO. So I'm sure it's worth it, but, I was just kind of on the, let me just learn it and try to do it myself first. But like I said, if I want to increase the size of what I am doing, then I'll definitely have to hire someone who's an expert in the field. But yeah, I would say just the main success I've had is just getting out there, different social media content, just different things that I have done, different events. And, for you, Sarah, you're in a perfect place. You're at the beginning stage, right? So if you are going through the process, why not just document it, do a couple 30-second, basically same thing you just told us, just record it. This is what a gold star is. This is what my mission is, and just put it out there, see what happens. Put it on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and then, repurpose it. Do the same video on everything. And you'd be surprised how many people actually see these and what it can lead to.
Yeah, the process of writing a book in front of everybody, the reality show of writing a children's book, that's a great idea. Well, hey, it's the top of the hour, so I always try to honor that. And thank you, Brandon. I owe you breakfast. And people, I want you to know, when I buy breakfast for him, it's 2 breakfasts. Like feeding my son. No, and I'm going to have breakfast with Goldfeet next week. So if you want to join me and Junior, I'm going to help him out with something. But man, we could tag team with that too. But I greatly appreciate you, Brandon. Greatly appreciate Preston coming on. And that, now you know why I'm so passionate about children's books, because you got to meet 2 of my greatest inspirations. Hey, buddy, we're talking about children's books.
You want to help me write a children's book? Yeah. Do you know that Mr. Brandon played in the NFL? I would tell you all the teams, but there's quite a few. You
Yeah,
can say Bills.
So Bills.
There we go.
And Vince, can I say one more thing?
sure thing.
Yeah, I would say, just if you're on that part where you're on the fence, just go for it. Just do it. Like Vince said, you'll if it's finances you're worried about, you'll recoup that back in a couple $100, and it's not the most challenging thing. Once people see that you're the author and you're selling your book, they're way more likely to buy it than just a random book off the shelf. Because as we know, I mean, you're a parent. You probably don't. You go to the bookstore, you look at the cover, you read a few pages, oh, I like this message, I'll buy this book.
Yeah.
The most the most encounters I've had with customers is very similar. They look at the book, they say, "Oh, it's about sports. Oh, you're the author. Okay, I'll buy it." They don't read it, analyze it, read every word, and it's not some big hard decision for them to make. Once they find out you're the author and they like you as a person, they know that you wrote it, and they have a good story to tell their kids. Hey, I met the author. Miss Geisen signed it. She wrote it directly to you. They're very inclined to support you as an author. So, I would say just go for it, and it's a very positive experience.